anyone who's taught media has likely suffered at some point or many points through student papers that include lines such as, quote, "The audience understands the character," end quote, or, quote, "The audience disapproves," end quote, as though the writer has some kind of mystic power to read the minds of all viewers. Of course, though, television changes depending on the viewer. And Chapter 2 looks at how TV changes and how its powers, effects, and meaning change relative to affect. First, I look at fandom as a specific form of affect. And I look at how fans change meanings by viewing in specific ways. This section is intended to sort of open up our understanding of TV entertainment by realizing that it will entertain different people in different ways. Use value is thus vital to study. And while this chapter offers no empirical audience research, it looks at several others and gestures towards research that shows how creatively different viewers can use a text. Part and parcel of this involves looking at how some viewers care only or most about certain aspects of a text, which is a key reason why different people can see such different things in what is supposedly, quote, the same program. I'm also interested in this chapter at looking at how we use text and our fandoms or anti-fandoms of them to make claims about our identity, and indeed to create a sense of identity. If you profess hate of soap operas or Grey's Anatomy and love of 24 and World Wrestling Entertainment, as a man, you're performing a very different sense of who you are and performing a different sense of gender and gender identity than if you swap that and declare love of Grey's Anatomy and yet a hatred of football. In such ways, we use shows to communicate our identities and to fashion them for ourselves, meaning that TV entertainment can also be studied as a way of talking, as a resource in creating the self. We cling to gender identities, but also national identities, political identities, ethnic identities, and so forth with TV entertainment. And part of that is because TV entertainment often produces utopian or dystopian fantasies that can stand in for our hopes and our fears. 50s family sitcoms create a very specific idea of what American society is, and what American society should be, namely white, suburban, middle class, and as the great movie Pleasantville satirizes, just so darn pleasant, even if mind-numbingly boring in the process. And other shows create other alternative realities. Herein lies a paradox of TV entertainment. It's often talked of as escapist, and either put down as such, oh, it's just escapism, or it's used to deflect any interpretation of deeper meanings, where people don't want you to look beyond it, don't think it's appropriate to, because, it's just escapism, just for fun. And on one hand, it is escapist, but since we're escaping to utopias or dystopias, TV entertainment always implicitly comments on our own world. If we escape to Leave It to Beaver, for instance, this tells us as much about what we're escaping from as what we're escaping to. And thus, fantasy and fiction are always about the here and now. They're always about our hopes and our dreams, about where we see ourselves, where we see the world around us. And related to that, then, our fandom, our anti-fandom, or even our apathy towards individual shows or individual genres can tell us a heck of a lot about the world or worlds we want to live in. And so in this chapter, one of the things I'm trying to do, beyond just looking at how shows change relative to how you feel about them, I also try to look at how TV entertainment creates these utopias and these dystopias that we try to use to talk about the world around us, both the intensely personal, intimate world and more communal worlds that we share with others. As I've suggested, though, it's not just about fandom and love. So I also have a section in this chapter on hate and anti-fandom, on what's said by disliking things. And then, to sort of complete the picture, I then try to look at non-fandom and at casual viewing and at how that differs. And then finally, I close by looking at how tracking viewers and their reactions is a business that's important to television. And I discuss ways in which our viewing is tracked, measured, ways in which it counts or doesn't count. The old adage that TV is a democracy is wonderfully naive, since not all of us matter equally all the time. Advertisers only care about some of us. And because it's advertisers' money that pays for commercial television, well then the people who the advertisers care about are the people who television wants to get a hold of first and foremost. So in this democracy, not everyone is as equal as are others, since not all of us matter equally all the time. If we're going to talk about affect then, I wanted to close the chapter by examining the really important issue of how that affect registers with the TV industry in the first place, and with the advertisers who often fund it, and how they attempt to go after our attention. And that's pretty much then where chapter 2 ends.